Sean from Owl Rock Management. So I just wanted to basically outline our executive summary. So essentially we focus on the finance department here at Loyola, and we're looking to make sure that the finance department is giving students the best opportunities possible and making sure that they know their real world applications. And the way that we're going to do this is by finding a new mission statement for the department. When we met with them previously, they did not have a mission statement, so our new mission statement for them is this. The Loyola University Maryland Finance Department should seek to build and continuously enhance a holistic education that properly equips students for success in the financial services industry by providing exceptional faculty, cutting-edge technology, and innovative coursework to differentiate a Loyola education and provide favorable advantages in the workforce because they will be able to create a better world through business. Hi, my name is Sean.
My name is Manuel de Rivera.
My name is Mark Tornado.
My name is Matthew Panisha.
And we are Owl Rock Management Group. So today we're going to be talking about our management project that we've been doing throughout the whole semester. And for our problem, we focus on the finance department here at Loyola, Maryland. Essentially, we met with two professors in the finance department, the department chair, Dr. D'Souza, and his newly hired executive in residence, Scott MG. So when we met with D'Souza, we tried to ask him some of the problems that surrounded the finance curriculum. And what he had told us is that the certain problems were the subpar hiring process, the generic and ineffective feedback in the department, lack of course structure, and the flexibility of the curriculum. Overall, these sounded like more of problems, less than a root cause. So what we tried to do is use design thinking principles to think, these are the problems, but what is really the root cause overall? And we realized that asking him more questions and getting into further discussion, there really was actually a lack of a mission statement. And so the lack of the mission statement actually ended up being the root cause, and all the factoring problems were the subpar hiring process, the ineffective feedback, lack of course structure, and flexibility of the curriculum. So focusing in on my part, I'm going to talk a little bit about the subpar hiring process. So essentially, we met with Scott MG, who is currently an executive in residence, who was newly hired, and his statement basically was that he had received a pre-screening phone call interview, followed by a panel-style interview, followed by an informal lunch. And he said that he was very surprised on how easy the process was. And then doing some further research and analysis, a University of Pennsylvania article said that basically the hiring process for professors is very rigorous in the academic world. And so for it to be so easy at Loyola was very surprising for us to hear. Therefore, we thought that it would be a good idea for it to be more individual rather than a panel-style interview. A Harvard review also came out and said that panel-style interviews actually end up influencing groupthink. And groupthink was not well because all you could do is you would hear one idea, but it wasn't as effective as doing individual evaluations of the candidate, and you can get very specific and in detail. Although this can be really expensive and timely, really you have to make this process more individual and more rigorous, and make sure that there's multiple interviews done, and this way they can have a more concise and clear mission statement. And that kind of transitions into Manny's part about feedback.
Thank you, Sean. Like Sean was saying, the teacher evals, which is the form of feedback, are very ineffective, mainly because of the ambiguity that you get in some of these questions. For example, a question can ask how hard a course is, but it doesn't really specify if the hardness or the difficulty comes from the course itself or because of due to the teacher. Therefore, in the future, something we suggested is to allow students to write how a course allowed them to develop intellectually and technically to better get feedback of how the professor is performing in that specific course. Moreover, tenured professors in the school are very comfortable to the point that they are not striving upwards and onwards to achieve the greater goal that we want. So with that said, we want to incentivize them to be better in their job basically, and to continue doing the things that they were doing in the past to become tenured. And the 5 methods that we found to do this was through direct incentive, which could be either by giving them a promotion or better pay, or it doesn't even have to be with better pay. It could be by flying them out to a workshop so they could develop their skills or share their skills. Another method that we found was giving them organizational support through the use of voice. Through voice, we would be able to allow the professor to dictate what happens in in the department as with the course and other courses, giving them more autonomy over the whole department. Moreover, recognition is another form of incentivizing tenured professors by giving them Teacher of the Year awards. They could have won it 20 years ago, but that doesn't mean that they can't win it again 20 years afterwards if they merit it. And it's just important that they are recognized when they do deserve it. Also, personal satisfaction by reminding professors of the difference they're making, not only in this university but in the world, by educating young people as us. We could incentivize them to keep on doing that and feel motivated to come every day to work. And finally, like Sean was saying, the hiring process, which is something that he already talked about, is something that we got to look at so that those spots that we do have open, we fill them up with young, capable teachers that will better the university's name as a whole.
Looking into the overall structure of the finance department and how it necessarily operates and would be able to implement a mission that we would hopefully like to implement, we looked at how that professors had a large amount of autonomy in terms of what they actually teach in their courses and what kind of projects and application-based things that they choose to employ in a certain topical area. In our interview with Scott MG, executive in residence here at Loyola, he described how there are really no clear guidelines on how professors present course material. They basically, it was described to us that professors are basically given a topical area and they have free reign over what they would like to, how they would like to teach the material, how they would like to present the material, the amount of projects and application-based material that they're going to provide for their students to help them further grow and develop in accordance with our mission. So because of that, there becomes a lot of variability between the same class per se. In an interview with one of our colleagues, we actually found out that in our fixed income class, we actually do a lot of Bloomberg work with a Bloomberg terminal in terms of projects, test questions, as well as homework assignments, where when we were talking to our colleague, she basically described that they have had no experience with the Bloomberg terminal, where they are just doing examples out of the book and not necessarily getting the hands-on experience with the platform that financial professionals use on a daily basis in the field. With that being said, the variations in the course quality that we have noticed just in our experience, as well as was also reinforced in our interview with Scott, where he noted that since there are no guidelines, it's very easy for there to be variation between how two professors choose to teach a certain topical area. This leads to a variation in the quality of the education that the students are receiving within the classroom and can ultimately diminish the overall value that the finance department brings to Loyola. If we were able to, and this ultimately stems from professors having a little bit too much autonomy with not enough supervision or guidelines to make sure that their quality is in line with the finance department's new mission. And because of that, and because of the changes that may come with these guidelines, there might be some pushback from especially tenured professors who may have their systems in place. They may have their own methods for teaching a specific topical area. Whether that be good or bad, it still opens the door for that variability and some courses to not be taught as well as they otherwise could be. And this pushback could be mitigated by allowing all professors involved in the department to come up with guidelines for each course so that there is enough application-based coursework and homework and projects that are included in each course, and that certain guidelines are met in terms of how many case studies are involved in each course, how many financial presentations that students will have to give as part of the course, so that students are getting a holistic financial education experience while still being able to utilize the variety of professors' talent in the business school.
Following up from the lack of course structure that Mark just talked about, is the final problem that we identified because of an ambiguous mission statement or lack of a mission statement. So that would be the flexibility of the curriculum. What we've seen at Loyola before is in the economics department, they have two tracks that you can take. They have a quantitative economics track as well as a business economics track. We think that if the finance department at Loyola is able to incorporate a new quantitative track for finance majors, it would increase possible major enrollment for from students who are already pursuing STEM fields. This would add to the overall department's strength, and it would enhance their mission statement, the mission statement that we provided, by allowing students access to exceptional faculty, cutting-edge technology, and innovative coursework. And by having the quantitative track, the new technology that would be involved in the system would be available to all finance students, and not only finance students, it would benefit the university as a whole, because if students aren't just majoring in finance, maybe they're majoring in another field but would like to use some of these applications, they'll have these benefits as well. Then, by being able to do this, it sets a precedent for the future, and the ability of the finance department at Loyola and the organizational structure to be flexible with options moving forward. That way, in academics and in business, it is known that by having a flexible structure, businesses have been able to thrive better, and they adapt well, and they change at a moment's notice based on feedback and data that they're receiving. So, summarizing all of this, the main problems we found were the subpar hiring process, generic and ineffective feedback, lack of course structure, and the flexibility of the curriculum. Now, in our implementation of this new mission statement to solve all these problems, we are obviously going to face some pushback. We think the main risks associated with implementing this new mission statement would be it is timely and expensive. However, in our management course, we've learned that setting these structures in place are always timely and expensive, but the return on them is always exceptional. And we would definitely see this within the finance department, and it'll allow a Loyola finance degree to hold more weight out in the business field, which would also tie into the new mission statement to really emphasize putting out professionals into the workforce who are ready and able to take on great roles at companies. But if we had these clear guidelines in place and professors worked with the administration to talk about different routes they would want to take and certain things they want in their courses, we could meet a baseline for what we see as essential requirements for students in the finance curriculum. And last but not least, the flexibility of the curriculum would be expensive, and there would need to be hiring of new professors, but this all ties in with the mission statement. So if Loyola is willing to adopt this new mission statement and embrace it, they'll really see a lot of positive results based off of this, and they'll essentially achieve the goals that they have already stated without a mission statement. So tying this all together, the new mission statement will provide clear guidelines and the why for the entire department, which will allow them to achieve their goals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.